Hi guys, Level Up here. It's been a while since my last video, and the main reason for that is that I've been working on this video for about the last 2 weeks. And I've had a lot of other stuff going on, so I haven't been able to focus as much time on this as I wanted to. The reason I wanted to spend so much time on this video is because about a month ago I posted a strategy guide for Warren Gates on Legendary mode, and I have to say I was kind of shocked at how popular it became. So now sitting at well over 50,000 views and almost 900 likes. So any follow-up guide I was going to do, I felt I owed it to you guys to make them as perfect as possible. Now Times Square is generally regarded as the easiest of all the legendaries, and in some ways that's true. So it would have been quite simple for me to upload a nice quick 25-minute run with some commentary over the top and call that a guide, even though it might not have been reflective of a typical run. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to explore as many different strategies as possible for each section and then find the most repeatable one that kind of guarantees the safest and easiest clear for each part of the mission. So after about like 50 to 60 runs or so over the past 2 weeks, I think I've found that strategy. So I've used this method to do 3 to 4 successful back-to-back runs, and it seems to result in the most consistent clears and NPC kind of behaviour. So before we launch into the guide, you'll see me switching weapons occasionally as well as loadouts. I'll explain why I'm switching during the gameplay, but I'll cover the build in detail at the end of the video. So without further ado, let's jump into the guide. So we're going to enter and we're going to head left down the escalator, and we're going to turn left and cover behind this area here, and then we're going to launch a sticky bomb, and we're going to make sure we get at least 2 of the NPCs. That's important because we need to make sure that we've killed enough people with the sticky and the seeker to launch the next wave. So we're going to cover and we're going to walk back up the escalator. We can see our seekers in action, we can see when they're getting the kills, and you're going to use that to time when the next wave is going to start. So there's going to be 6 on-rushing shotgunners, so you need to be prepared. And as soon as you see one, detonate them, launch your seekers, and sort of hope for the best, to be quite honest. You'll often have to retreat back, so you can probably get 3 or 4 hopefully. I always like to then put a sticky bomb over the top of the barriers so that when they do their combat rollover, you can use that as a timing mechanism to detonate it, and that'll always get them. And here we are, we've only got one left, and he's down now. So that's going to trigger the start of the next wave. So we need to get to the bottom of the escalator quickly so that we can launch our seeker to the back. And then we're going to combat roll back up and again launch a sticky at the bottom, and just going to stay at the top of the escalators, just so you can kind of get a good vantage point and see what's going on. So normally some guys will come to the bottom, and hopefully you can get more than one. Sometimes you can only get one, so if you do only get one, you're going to need to retreat. So we're going to drop a seeker mine, and we're going to need to probably retreat. Just keep an eye on it, to be honest. As soon as they start rushing up the stairs, you're going to need to back up. So don't worry about it, just retreat, keep yourself alive. As soon as you see them coming over, detonate your sticky, and it sometimes doesn't even kill them because they run like Usain Bolt, of course. But just when they're low health, they'll often kind of panic and seek cover, so they won't rush you, which is good. So if you've got your seekers off cooldown, you're likely to be able to kill them anyway. So we've got one guy left here. Just stay safe. If he tries to come close, either get your sticky at him or just retreat again. There's plenty of cover out here, so you should be safe. But he's down now, so we're going to go back inside. I think there's only maybe probably 1 or 2 guys left downstairs, so it should be fairly quick. So Seekers have already targeted this guy, so he's down. And one guy left. Can't see where he is. He's over there somewhere. Oh, there he is. So we'll just take care of him. And to be quite honest with you, this is probably one of the hardest parts of the mission. So once this is done, it's fairly plain sailing for the next 4 or 5 sections. So make sure you just mop up any sort of useful items that you can while you're here. I don't know if a Hunter's Faith Vest is useful, but I'll take it anyway. Now I've switched to my secondary, which is a ferocious weapon, and we're going to fire a sticky at the bottom of the doorway. We're going to trigger the combat, and as soon as we do that, we'll detonate the sticky so that you can see it's already taken a fair chunk of health off. And then we're going to launch the seeker mines, and finally the last sticky bomb will kill him. So this is where it's useful to have a primary weapon with, say, like determined, destructive, predatory, and then a secondary with destructive and ferocious, and then one of the other two. Because that ferocious talent, when you have an elite to kill, obviously that's just 10% straight up damage, so it's really useful. So the next part, we're going to go up the stairs, we're going to cover behind here, and we're going to put a sticky bomb between the police car and the barrier, and you'll see exactly why we're going to do that, because all 6 of them are going to basically stand in the same place, which is great, and we're just going to nuke all of them in one go, which is really satisfying. So then cover back, and we're going to run over, and we're going to cover behind this area here. This is the safest place to be, because you're out of the range of all the snipers that are around there. So we're going to launch a seeker mine for some protection, and then we're going to switch to the turrets. Yeah, you might get hit by a grenade, but it won't kill you, so that's good. And then we're going to put the turret on top of this like little fir tree thing here. These little plants are great for putting turrets on because they can't be destroyed, or they can't be stamped on by heavies. And they offer obviously quite a good vantage point and line of sight to the enemies, so it's always good to put them on those. And then we're just going to stay around here and launch the seekers. The good thing about turrets as well is they stop the enemies from advancing on you, so it'll just kind of mean they take cover and just behave a little bit more predictably. So as soon as your seekers are off cooldown, just launch the next wave, and then that should kill them all. So the next wave will be a few reds, so they're nice and easy. The turret that's up there will be able to take care of them, but because we'll have our seekers back anyway, seekers just make it a lot quicker. So once the turret's down, just put it back. It's just a really nice place to put it. Now the next wave may not come because we're quite far back. What it tends to do is it will trigger the wave, but they won't advance upon you because I don't know where you are. So I always go to this truck and take the opportunity to get rid of this sniper because he is just really annoying, or she. So do that, and as you can see here, they have spawned, but they're not advancing yet. So just wait until they notice you. And when they do, we're going to retreat back to where we were before. So yeah, just go back. Again, the turret's a good sort of thing for them to focus on, so they don't focus on you. And then the next bit's going to be a bit of dancing, because obviously they're going to start spamming grenades at you. So one of the other reasons I like this place is that you can just combat roll straight to this other bit of cover, and you can just go kind of to and from those two areas. You just have to time it right. As soon as you hear them say they're launching a grenade, just roll, because with that bug, as soon as they kind of trigger it like you saw there, I'm already bleeding, even though you know, they didn't actually hit me with anything. As soon as a red circle appears, it will start to damage you. This build's great because I've managed to roll loads of bleed resistance, so it doesn't really affect me too much. I decided to destroy the turret and sort of bring it further forward, but as you saw, as soon as I destroyed it, they then took the opportunity to advance, so it's not always advisable to do that. It worked out okay in this time, but it's sometimes better just to be safe and just leave the turret where it is and just wait until your seekers recharge and just get them with your seekers. It worked out fine though, so it's not too bad, but just something to bear in mind. And this guy's nearly down. And yeah, once he's down, you get the notification that the area is now secure, and we'll head towards where the Warrengate van is. So at this point, I like to take cover on this truck, and you can see that the light machine gunners have kind of already spawned. So we're going to switch to sticky bomb because they're nice and close together, and we can sometimes get all 4 of them in one go. Sometimes you won't quite, but you'll get 3 down, and you've already got a seeker ready anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The seekers will take care of the last guy and the sniper that's on the roof or the scaffolding. So when they're down, we're going to go to the right hand side here, and we're going to stop here, and this is really important, and we're going to switch to tear gas, and we're going to throw a tear gas grenade at the back of the truck, and we're going to wait until it detonates. The reason we're going to do that is because we're going to sticky these guys, and if you trigger the combat notification before you have thrown that gas grenade, they will all start running out anyway, so you need to make sure you're still out of combat when you throw that grenade, and then you're going to run and then you're going to sticky them. And that way they'll always stay inside the truck, and you'll be able to just get them all in really easily with a sticky. So then it's just the shield guy left, so as you see on again, I've switched to my damage to elites, or my ferocious weapon, and we're just going to throw seeker mines and sticky bombs at him until he dies, which is now. So when he's down, this is the first point at which we're going to start changing loadouts. So we're going to switch our loadout to Delta, which is basically my main turret loadout. So it's fairly similar, it just uses a turret, a few different talents, a different weapon, and we're also going to be using 4-piece Tactician. So we no longer have the healing from Nimble. But we do get obviously the extra potential skill power that we get from the Tactician stacks, because the turret will allow you to build stacks. So we're going to we've put the turret on the top of the truck there because that's a perfect location. As you see, guys are going to start swarming us, and it can cover every angle. And by dropping the seekers at our feet before we pick the box up, it allows them to just sort of target the enemies while we're still walking with the box, which is useful. So the combination of the seekers and the turret will make quite light work of these guys. It sort of forces them into cover, but they're quite easy to pick off. So it's always useful. So you can see that this weapon I'm using here has talented on it, so when I'm now using the turret, I'm either able to kill enemies with my gun and proc talented, or whenever I get a turret kill, that also procs talented as well, which is really useful because obviously talented has been nerfed so that it doesn't apply to the seeker mines or sticky bomb. Just one guy left in this wave. You see my amazing potato aim here, hitting everything except the guy, so yeah, I don't recommend doing that. But we've got our seekers on cooldown, or off cooldown, so you can just finish them off with those. So we'll destroy our turret and we're going to place it on this barrier here in preparation for the next wave. So the next wave are going to come out of a manhole by that truck behind us. So we're going to go back, pick up the box. And I think once we start to get to the rear of this truck here, it will spawn the next wave. I mean, they carry on walking, but we're going to take cover here in this little area. So turret's already focusing on them, so it's starting to build up stacks. And by putting the turret there, there's another wave of red guys that spawned on the left. By putting the turret there, it seems to stop them advancing, so that's why I've done it. And if you, again, you put it on the ambulance, is quite useful. Even if there's no direct line of sight, it does seem to stop enemies from approaching, so it's a really useful thing to have. And then we'll just sort of wait until, obviously just a combo of seeker mines and turret kills them. So that kill then managed to proc talented, which is good, so gives us a nice 15% boost. We've also got the 21% extra boost from the Tactician stacks. So these are going to be some powerful seeker mines. And sure enough, the last guy's down. So the next wave, what we're going to do is going to move the box up slightly. So we're going to bring it up towards the ammo restock crate. And before we get there, we're going to roll away because we don't want to trigger the next wave yet. We want to put our turret on top of the area that you actually put the box in. And then we're going to drop our seeker mine as well before we pick up the box. And we're just going to walk slowly towards the truck. And it's going to trigger the next wave. We're going to get one agent, elite agent, that's going to come out of one of these manholes. And when he does, he's going to be focused by the turret and the seekers, and they will kill him without fail, as you see. So then all we've got left are, there's 2 red medics and 2 or 3 red grenadiers. So we're going to basically launch our seekers and drop a turret up there to try and focus him, but we also want to switch to our EMP because it's really important. As soon as these medics are around, even the red guys, they have really strong heal stations, so try and EMP them just so that you can obviously stop them from healing, and that'll allow your seekers to kill the guys and the turret to kill the guys without too much issue. That's the most important thing to remember, really, is if you don't do that, then even the red guys, their stations are strong enough to keep healing them through your bleed from your seekers. By the way, this is the first time I've ever been flanked on like that by that much on this part of the mission, so this really never happens. It's just unfortunate, I think, so don't worry too much about this happening. But yeah, again, they're only red guys this way, so it's not too hard to kill them, even if you have to resort to your pesky weapon to kill them. So when that wave is past, make sure you go around and hoover up all the medkits, because the medics will always drop medkits, so that's a good opportunity to restock. Don't forget as well that there is a dark zone checkpoint right here, so if you do need to restock on everything and the medkits, then you can do that without exiting the mission by going in there. So now we're going to switch to our Charlie loadout, which is exactly the same as what we've just used. The only difference is that it has damage to elites mods on it. And the reason we're changing now is because we don't have any further opportunities to change, because all the next waves are linked together, so there's no kind of downtime. So we're going to run up back towards this sort of military truck here, and we're going to drop a turret, and we're going to go and cover behind this hot dog vendor thing here, and we're just going to use that as an opportunity to kill the 2 snipers that come out. They're really weak, so even with the 204 weapon, you'll easily be able to kill them because it takes them so long to climb out the manhole. And so now we've proc talented and we've got a nice amount of stacks up. We don't know where this next wave is coming from. Sometimes they come out of that shop right there on the right hand side with the opening. Sometimes they come from the left, so you just have to be careful. I'd recommend against going in the shop to start with because they can sometimes spawn right behind you. So this is the shop I'm talking about. If you go in here from the start, sometimes they will spawn from right behind you and just instantly kill you. So that's why I cover behind that hot dog vendor thing, because it's a good vantage point. So when you know where the spawns come from and you know the shop's safe, you can go in there and it is a good place to go. So you can use it as a good place to just take out the rest of the veterans. And when the veterans are down, so it should be those 2 shotgunners and 2 grenadiers. And when they're down, should be it. You should just be able to then go and take care of the last 2 snipers. So those guys, if you cover to this place here, that's a good opportunity to launch your seekers, and that will kill the last 2 snipers. And what we're going to do now is we're going to retreat quite significantly, because this next wave is going to spawn some rushing shotgunners and some other veterans, and also potentially some elites on the right as well. And if you're not careful, it's happened to me quite a few times in my practice runs that they will overwhelm you. So there's no reason why not to just retreat. It just gives you a bit more time to get your skills back, and also just there's no reason not to. You don't need to stay up the far end. You can kind of come back here and just chill and throw your seekers out, and that's just a safer way to take care of these guys. Again, putting your turret on top of this like little mini Christmas tree is a good thing. So it'll target anyone coming towards you and it'll stop people rushing you. So what's happened here is that it hasn't spawned. So as you see, I've gone out of combat. What that means is that because we came quite far back, although the elites have spawned in the back right hand side, they haven't been aggroed, so they haven't come to get us. So that's nice. That gives us an opportunity to get a kind of an advantage on them. So if that happens, and it does happen quite often, go to the truck, and I take the opportunity to switch to sticky bomb and take some water and try and get them all in one go. I mean, you can't get them all, but you can certainly get 2 of them. So that's taken out the medic, and it's taken out all the armour off one of the agents, and if we put the seekers down as well, that should finish off that agent. So keep an eye on your XP bar to see when he's down. So there we go, that's sort of confirmation that he's down. And then we're going to switch back to the turret, and having retreated, we're in a pretty strong position now. So we'll launch our seekers again. You can see that the death by proxy talent has procced, which is amazing. So when I launched my seekers previously, they must have killed one of his seeker mines or something, because that gives you an extra 20% cooldown. An extra 20% skill power for 30 seconds. So obviously that's really, really useful. So I recommend having that on when you're running the sort of damage to elites loadout, because elites are going to have skills they're going to use against you, and if you can kill them, then you get a massive skill power boost. So that was useful, and obviously it's sort of made fairly light work of these guys. So the last wave has now spawned. I did want to try and run up and go back into that shop, because that is quite a good place to take on the last wave, but I was a bit, I wasn't quite close enough, so it would have been risky to do that. But it doesn't really matter. So just if you're back here, it's a good vantage point. You can see all the enemies. We just have to make sure that Sergeant Wilbur doesn't come too close, because obviously he's pretty much invulnerable at the moment. But by putting our turret up, we seem to have we're keeping everyone back, and we can just sit back and launch our seeker mines and try and just sort of slowly kill them all. If you're able to get a kill, I mean, I mistimed that, but if you're able to get a kill with a turret, and you've got a weapon that's got talented on it, then obviously that's great, because it's going to be able to proc talented, and you're going to get that extra 15% skill power when you launch your seekers. So if you can time it right, that's certainly going to help you. So there we go. I'm just going to switch now, and there we go. I timed it right. So I've now procced talented, so it's going to give us a skill power boost. So as there's only one sort of veteran, and he's quite far back, so I thought I'd put the turret up and see if I could make some damage into Sergeant Wilbur. Didn't do too well with that, so he's obviously gone into cover now. But if you can sort of chip away at him while you're still taking care of the rest, obviously that's quite useful. You can see the turret does a lot of damage. We're doing almost 23,000 per bullet on him, which is great. So it's going to obviously make take a nice chunk out of his health. But the focus initially is to just make sure we get rid of all the, well, everything apart from Wilbur, so all the veterans. I've never really found Sergeant Alfaro much of a problem. He's so weak, you can normally take him out with one seeker mine, and he's not particularly good. If he does get a shot on you, obviously it does a hell of a lot of damage, but if you're sort of careful where you are, you can position yourself so that you never really take any damage. So that's it. So everyone else is down now, so it's just Sergeant Wilbur left. There are a few strategies for taking care of Wilbur. You can go back into that shop that I was in before, and if you put a turret outside and to the left of the doorway, for some reason that's like an invisible barrier, and if you put it on the floor, it's the only place that's on the floor that Wilbur won't actually be able to kick it down. So for some reason he won't attack the turret there. But what I found is that if you do that, he doesn't really ever stay there. He always runs back to Times Square, this area here. So I always find it better to put a turret up here, because it's always going to be where he's going to be. So it's just a good way to get sort of consistent damage on him. And although obviously he does a lot of damage to it, so he's going to kill the turret quite quickly. As long as you stay quite close by, you should be able to put it back up straight away and just sort of rinse, repeat until he's dead. And that's the kind of the best strategy I've found. So I've done, like I said, I've done the other strategy of putting it outside the shop, but like I say, he always retreats back and he's always outside the range of the turret. So, you know, obviously if he's outside the range of it, you're just sort of wandering around and trying to do the same thing for ages, and it takes like sort of 10 to 15 minutes to kill him. So I always find that this is the most consistent way to get him down quite quickly. And obviously drink some more water. Don't be afraid to drink water. There's tons of water around. That's a good thing about legendaries. They always drop loads of consumables, so you'll always have extra water to pick up. And you can see we're doing, like, before we were doing like 25k, now we're doing 24k damage per bullet on the turret, so it's going to go down pretty quick. There you go, he's nearly down. He's focusing something else, which is great, so our turret's still up. And there we go, done. Nice and simple. And that's how you can do Times Square Power Relay on Legendary in under half an hour, and in a way that is very repeatable. Okay, so starting off with my Alpha loadout, so that's the one we start the mission with. And as you can see, it's based on 3-piece Tactician with a Barrett's chest, inventive backpack, and a nimble holster. And the skills we run with are the BFB, we've got Recovery Link, and we've got our Cluster Seeker Mines. And our talents, we're using Tech Support, although that may seem an odd choice at the moment, but I'll go into why in a minute. We've also got chain reaction, so when we can target more than one NPC with our sticky bomb, we can get an extra 20% more damage from that explosion. We've also got demolition expert, so after we've killed a hostile with an explosion, we gain an additional 20% explosion damage for 15 seconds. And we've got shrapnel, so that we can apply more bleed to the NPCs. Now, the only reason I'm using tech support is because I do occasionally quickly switch out the BFB to the turret while I'm running this loadout, and tech support allows us to keep the turret going for a little bit longer, so that's the only reason I've chosen that one. You can obviously choose a different one. You can go with something like critical save or strike back to get even faster cooldowns on your skills, but I've just gone with tech support on this one. So let's go into the detail. We'll start off with the weapons. So my primary, so I've crafted quite a few new LVOACs since the nerf to Talented. So Talented now no longer procs with kills from a sticky bomb or seeker mines. So I've rolled this one with Determined, Destructive and Predatory. So I think Predatory is now definitely the best talent to go for in the third slot. It still has high stamina requirements even on a 204 weapon. So getting it in that third slot allows you to obviously negate those those attribute unlock requirements. And Determine's definitely a good one to go with. Every time you get a kill, you get 7.5% skill cooldown back, so that's really useful. Destructive, because Destructive does still work with the sticky bomb and with seeker mines, so you gain that extra 15% armor disruption. So these are the three best ones to go for in general. So when you're fighting against veterans and the Reds. My secondary, I switch to that when I'm facing elites because I've got Determined, Ferocious and Destructive on this one. So Ferocious also gives you more damage to all your skills when you have this weapon equipped. So it's definitely worth having. That extra 10% damage is really useful. The mods on the weapons are fairly relevant, so I'm not even going to touch on those. I'm just running with mostly stability because the only times I'm going to be using the weapons are just to sort of finish off the odd enemy from afar, so it's better to have the ability to land as many shots as possible, in my opinion. So that's what I've gone for. If we go into the gear now, so I'm running with Barrett's chest. So you want to roll that with electronics on the main attribute. For the major attributes, we want skill, haste, and either health or enemy armor damage could be good. Health is obviously good for a bit of extra survivability. If you don't have health, I think you're just going to end up being far too weak. So I think health's always a good role to go for. Minor attributes don't matter at all. Ammo capacity, fine. I mean, you're not going to be shooting that many bullets, so you probably don't need it. The other option is XP, so again, probably not that useful, but maybe more useful than ammo capacity. And we're running with 2 electronics and skill haste mods. The mask is Tactician's Authority mask. Again, rolled electronics on the main stats, and you want to run enemy armor damage on the major and damage to elites on the minor. 12% being the maximum roll you can get, so as high as you can, obviously the better. And we've got an electronics and skill power mods on this one. For the knee pads, again, we rolled electronics on the main stat. We've got skill power on the major attributes. We've got a max roll, 16% damage to elites on the minor, and you also definitely want to get bleed resistance on the minor as well. So best two to have on the minor, damage to elites and bleed resistance. Obviously in legendary, every time you get caught by a grenade or if you get staggered with a bug from a grenade, it's always going to put bleed on you. So the higher the bleed resistance you've got, obviously the shorter that bleed is going to last and the less damage it's going to do. So definitely you're going to need bleed for legendary. Not just the grenades as well, but the riflemen, their bullets will put bleed on you. So it's definitely a really good stat to have. The mod we've got on this one is another electronics and skill power mod, and we're running Seeker Mind damage mod as well. The backpack is inventive, so this gives us an extra 15% skill power when we're at full health. So one of the other good things about having predatory on your primary weapon is that it's more likely to be keeping you at full health more of the time, and therefore you're going to make more use of this 15% skill power bonus. So yeah, it's another good reason to run predatory. It's also better to have inventive than it is to have something like specialized, because again we've got no stamina or firearms, so that bonus we're going to get isn't going to be worth very much, whereas this 15% skill power bonus on inventive is going to be worth a lot more. So again, electronics rolled on the main stat, and skill power on the major, and again bleed resistance on the minor. So we're sitting at 50% bleed resistance, which is the max you can get, so that's definitely what you want to go for. The mod we've got is electronics and skill power, and we've also got another 2 Seeker Mind damage mods. The gloves are Tacticians gloves, again rolled with electronics on the main attribute. We want skill haste on the major, along with enemy armor damage and health on kill. These definitely are the 3 best ones to go for. You don't need any crit, because it's not a crit build at all. And again, you don't really need weapon damage because you're not going to be shooting your weapon. So it's nice to get that 4% health on kill, just so that it, again, can keep you topped up with health. And enemy armor damage also applies, as we said before, to the Seeker Mine and the BFB damage. And obviously, yeah, no mods on the gloves. The holster we're using is nimble, so again we want to keep ourselves at max health as much as we can, so doing our cover to cover moves to keep us topped up is really useful. We've rolled, and well, you're always going to want to roll skill haste here as well to try and get you as close to that 50% skill haste cap as possible. And this time we're running a sticky bomb damage mod. So if we look at the character sheet on this one just very quickly, you can see we're at 27% damage to elites, 49.5% enemy armor damage. Obviously this is on our primary, so when we switch to our secondary that's going to jump up to 37%. And our skill haste is at 46%. So we could run one more skill haste mod and be at 49, which is almost a cap, but because we're running with determined on both our weapons, we're going to get a lot of skill cooldown in addition as well, so it's not necessarily worth it. So the next loadout that I switched to, once we started moving the box of electronics, was the Delta loadout. So the only main difference here is that we've swapped out BFB for the active sensor turret, and we've swapped out the nimble holster for a Tactician's holster. Main reason for that is that the turret allows us to build up those Tactician's authority stacks that the 4-piece bonus gives you, so that can provide you an extra 30% skill power, which is very well worth having. The other change, as you can see here, we've swapped out a different primary weapon, so we've now got one with talented, because the turret will, if you get a turret kill whilst you have this talented equipped on your weapon that you're holding, you will still get that 15% skill power increase. So it's worth having. So let's activate the Delta loadout, and let's go and have a look in a bit more detail. So the primary now, like I said before, has talented, it also has ferocious, and it has predatory. Now we don't have destructive, and there's a reason for that. The reason is that when you're doing damage with a turret, destructive doesn't do anything, so you don't gain any enemy armor damage from when you're using a turret. But ferocious does work, so if we're against any elites, then we are still going to get that 10% additional bonus damage. And we've also got predatory again on the third slot, because obviously it's what you want on as many weapons as you can when you're running a skill power build. The secondary is the same one as our primary from the previous loadout, so it's the one with determined, destructive and predatory. So the idea being, we equip our primary, we get a kill with a turret, so we proc talented, and then we can switch out to our secondary, throw our seekers. We get stronger seekers because of talented, and we also get the armor destruction from destructive. So that's the premise behind that. The holster, as I said, is a Tacticians holster enrolled with skill haste on the major. And because we're running with a turret, we are running with a 4% turret damage mod on there. So there's no other changes, so our skill haste is exactly the same as it was before. The final loadout that we switched to was Charlie, and if you can see again the difference are highlighted. So we've now got just our damage to elites electronics mods in here, so no longer are we running any electronics and skill power and skill haste mods. So we've lost probably 6% skill haste and a fair bit of skill power, but we're getting 15% damage to elites instead. So when we're fighting all the elites at the end, this is definitely going to do more damage. You can see that I've also swapped out tech support for death by proxy. The reason being, you face a fair few elite agents towards the end, and they have seeker mines, and if you can get a seeker mine kill, then you get a 20% skill power increase for 30 seconds, which is really powerful. And even better if you can get a kill with a turret on the seeker mine. The turrets are actually very good at targeting seekers, so you could potentially proc talented and death by proxy with, in one seeker mine kill. So that's going to give you 35% skill power extra. So that's really well worth doing. So let's equip it, and then we can just see the difference in our character sheet. So now we are running at 52% damage to elites. We are running, it says here, 35.5%. That's because the primary weapon that we have doesn't have destructive on it. The secondary does, so that would jump up to an extra 15%, so 50.5%. And our skill haste has dropped now to 40%, but again we're running with determined on our secondary, so we should still be able to get our skills back quickly enough. So that's it guys, I hope you find the guide useful. I hope it can help you beat the mission if you've had some trouble, or if you've had issues with kind of NPCs doing different things on different runs. Like I said, this strategy I think is the most repeatable. I did the mission probably 50 to 60 times in the last 2 weeks, and I did find that this method was the most predictable in terms of giving you the most consistent results, and the NPC's behaviour being the most consistent across each section. So that's it from me guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like the video, please don't forget to drop me a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all next time.